Chapter 1. The Auction. The basement smelled like cigarettes and fear. Ivy pressed her back against the cold concrete wall, her wrists raw from the zip ties. Men in expensive suits sat around folding tables, drinks in hand, eyes hungry. A makeshift stage stood in the center of the room, under harsh fluorescent lights. "You're up next, sweetheart." Her stepfather's breath reeked of whiskey. Dark circles shadowed his bloodshot eyes. "Remember what I told you. Smile. Look pretty. Don't cause trouble." "Please." The word came out as a whisper. "Don't do this." He grabbed her chin, fingers digging into her skin. "You think I want to? I owe dangerous people money. This is the only way." The auctioneer's voice boomed across the room. "Sold! To the gentleman in the blue tie." A girl with tears streaming down her face was led away by a man twice her age. Ivy's stomach turned. "Next up, we have Ivy, 22 years old, college-educated, clean." Two men grabbed her arms, dragging her toward the stage. Her legs felt like water. The lights blinded her as they shoved her forward. "Starting bid is 10,000. Hands shot up around the room. Numbers flew faster than she could follow. 15,000. 20. 25. She scanned the crowd, looking for any trace of mercy in their faces. Found none. These men saw her as property, nothing more. 30,000. A voice cut through the noise like a blade. Deep, rough, dangerous. 50,000. The room went silent. Ivy turned toward the voice. In the back corner sat a man in black leather. Dark hair fell across his forehead, shadowing eyes that looked like storm clouds. Tattoos covered his arms. A patch on his vest read, "Black Vultures MC," with a skull underneath. The auctioneer cleared his throat. "We have 50,000. Do I hear 100,000? The biker's voice never changed, calm, final. No one else spoke. "Sold to the gentleman in leather." The biker stood. He moved like a predator, all controlled power and barely contained violence. Other men stepped out of his way as he walked toward the stage. Ivy tried to run. The zip ties around her wrists caught on nothing. She stumbled, falling to her knees. Heavy boots stopped in front of her. She looked up. His face was carved from stone. A scar ran from his left temple to his jaw. His eyes held no warmth, no kindness, only cold purpose. "What's your name?" His voice was quieter now, but no less dangerous. "Ivy." She hated how small her voice sounded. He pulled out a knife. She flinched, but he only cut the zip ties. Her hands fell free, numb and tingling. "Get up." She stood on shaking legs. "You belong to me now." He leaned closer, his breath warm against her ear. "Don't speak unless I tell you to." He handed a thick envelope to the auctioneer. No words, no hesitation. "Let's go." He turned and walked toward the exit. Ivy looked back at her stepfather. He wouldn't meet her eyes, just stared at the floor, counting money with trembling fingers. She followed the biker up narrow stairs, through a warehouse, and into the night. Rain fell in heavy drops, soaking through her thin dress within seconds. A line of motorcycles waited in the parking lot. Chrome and black metal gleamed under the streetlights. Men in matching vests leaned against their bikes, watching. "Who's the girl, Axel?" one of them called out. Axel. So that was his name. "None of your business, Snake. We're heading back." He looked at Ivy, rain dripping from his hair. "Get on." She'd never been on a motorcycle. The seat was higher than she expected. She climbed on behind him, not sure where to put her hands. The engine roared to life beneath them. Axel grabbed her wrists, pulling her arms around his waist. "Hold tight. Fall off, and I'm not coming back for you." They pulled out into traffic, the other bikes following. The city blurred past in streaks of neon and rain. Ivy closed her eyes and held on. She'd been sold. Bought. Like cattle at market. But somehow, sitting behind this dangerous stranger, she felt something she hadn't expected. Safe. The thought terrified her more than anything that had happened tonight. Because men like Axel Cross didn't buy girls to keep them safe. They bought them for much darker reasons. The bike turned onto a highway leading out of the city. Behind them, the lights grew smaller until they disappeared. There was no going back now. Ivy belonged to the Black Vultures MC. She belonged to Axel Cross, and she had no idea what he planned to do with her.
Chapter 2. Property of the Vultures. The compound looked like a fortress. High fences topped with razor wire surrounded a cluster of buildings. Guard towers stood at each corner. Men with guns patrolled the perimeter. Axel's bike rumbled through the main gate. The other riders peeled off toward a large garage. He kept going, deeper into the compound. "Welcome to hell," he said over his shoulder. Ivy said nothing. Her arms ached from holding on for the past hour. Her dress was soaked through, clinging to her skin. He stopped in front of a 2-story building. Neon signs buzzed in the windows of what looked like a bar. Music and laughter spilled out into the night. "Get off." Ivy slid off the bike, her legs unsteady. Axel killed the engine and stood. He was taller than she'd realized, built like a brick wall. The doors swung open. Men in Black Vultures vests stumbled out, bottles in hand. They stopped when they saw Ivy. Well, what do we have here?" A man with a gray beard and gold teeth grinned at her. "She's a pretty little thing." "Hands off, Bulldog." Axel's voice carried a warning. "Relax, Prez. Just looking." Bulldog circled Ivy like a shark. "Are you going to share with your brothers?" "No." The word hit like a hammer. Final. Absolute. Another man laughed. "Since when do you go soft, Axel? Usually you let us have our fun." Axel stepped between them and Ivy. "She's mine. Anyone touches her answers to me." "Yours?" A woman emerged from the bar. Blonde hair, leather pants, too much makeup. "Since when do you keep pets?" "Since tonight, Candy." Axel grabbed Ivy's arm. "Move." He pulled her toward the building. The others watched them go, whispering amongst themselves. Inside, the place reeked of beer and cigarettes. Pool tables dominated the main room. Men played cards in dark corners. Everything was stained and worn. Axel led her up a narrow staircase. The second floor was quieter. A long hallway lined with doors. He stopped at the last door, pulling out a key. "This is where you'll stay." He shoved the door open. The room was small. A bed, a dresser, a single window with bars across it, like a prison cell with furniture. "There's a bathroom through that door. You'll find clothes in the dresser." He stepped back into the hallway. "Don't try to leave. There's nowhere to go." "Wait!" Ivy turned to face him. "What do you want from me?" Something flickered in his eyes, dark, painful. "What I want?" He stepped closer, backing her against the wall. "I want you to suffer the way my family suffered." "I don't understand." "You will." His hand pressed against the wall beside her head. "Your stepfather killed someone I loved, someone who meant everything to me." Ivy's breath caught. "My stepfather?" "Thomas Reed. Lying, cheating, murdering piece of trash. He gunned down my brother in cold blood. Now I have his precious stepdaughter." "She's not precious to me. He sold me tonight, remember?" "Doesn't matter." He pushed away from the wall. "You're his blood. That's enough." "I'm not his blood. He married my mother when I was 16. I barely know him." "Not my problem." He started to leave. Ivy grabbed his arm. "Please, I had nothing to do with whatever happened to your brother." He looked down at her hand on his arm. She jerked it back. "You're right. You had nothing to do with it. But you're here, and he's not. So you'll pay the price he should have paid." You're going to kill me? Death would be too easy. He stepped into the hallway. I'm going to break you, piece by piece, until there's nothing left. The door slammed shut. A lock clicked. Ivy stood frozen for a long moment. Then she ran to the window, pulling at the bars. They didn't budge. She tried the door, locked from the outside. She was trapped. In a room, in a compound, with a man who wanted to destroy her for something she didn't do. She slid down the wall, pulling her knees to her chest. Tears came then, hot and angry and helpless. Somewhere in the building, a motorcycle roared to life. Then another. The sound faded as they rode away into the night. Ivy wiped her eyes and looked around the room again. The dresser held men's clothes. Too big, but they were dry. She changed out of her wet dress, rolling up sleeves and pant legs. The mirror showed a stranger looking back. Pale, frightened, lost, but alive. Tomorrow she'd figure out how to escape. Tonight, she'd survive. She curled up on the bed, still wearing the oversized clothes. The pillow smelled like leather and motor oil. Outside her window, she could hear the compound settling into sleep. Voices fading. Engines quieting. In the distance, a wolf howled. Or maybe it was just her imagination. Either way, Ivy knew she was in the middle of something dark and dangerous. And Axel Cross was just getting started.
Chapter 3. The Girl and the Ghost. Ivy woke to the sound of engines and shouting. Sunlight streamed through the barred window. She'd slept in the oversized clothes, her body stiff from the narrow bed. The lock clicked. Axel walked in without knocking. "Get up. Time to eat." He looked different in daylight. Older. The scar on his face was deeper than she'd noticed. Dark circles shadowed his eyes like he hadn't slept. "I'm not hungry." Wasn't a request. He leaned against the doorframe. "You can walk down there or I can carry you. Your choice." Ivy stood slowly. Her legs were still unsteady from yesterday's terror. "I need to use the bathroom first." 5 minutes. She locked the bathroom door and splashed cold water on her face. The mirror showed yesterday's makeup smeared under her eyes. She looked like a raccoon. When she came out, Axel was still waiting. "Let's go." Downstairs, the bar was full of bikers eating breakfast. Conversation stopped when they saw her. Every eye tracked her movement across the room. Axel pointed to a table in the corner. "Sit." A woman brought over a plate of eggs and bacon. Not candy from last night. This one was older, with kind eyes and graying hair. "I'm Rose," she said quietly. "You need anything? You ask me." "Thank you." Rose squeezed her shoulder and walked away. Ivy picked at the eggs. They were actually good, but her stomach was twisted in knots. "Eat," Axel commanded from across the table. "I said I'm not hungry." "And I said eat." Ivy threw down her fork. "You can't control everything I do." The room went silent. Men stopped chewing, stopped talking, stopped breathing. Axel's eyes turned to ice. "What did you say?" "You heard me." Ivy stood up, her chair scraping across the floor. "You bought me. You didn't buy my soul." Laughter erupted from the nearest table. A man with a shaved head and spider tattoos slapped his knee. "She's got fire, Prez. I like that." "Shut up, Razor." Axel never took his eyes off Ivy. "Sit down now." "Make me." The words were out before she could stop them. Axel stood slowly. He walked around the table until he was inches away from her. "You think you're brave?" His voice was quiet, deadly. "You think standing up to me makes you strong? Stronger than hiding behind revenge for something I didn't do." His hand moved toward her face. She flinched, but he only tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was almost gentle. "You have no idea what I'm capable of," he whispered. "Then show me."
For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Surprise? Respect? Then it was gone. Finish your breakfast. We'll talk after. He walked away, leaving her standing there with every biker in the room staring at her. Rose appeared at her elbow. Honey, you just poked a sleeping bear. Good. Maybe he'll show his true colors. His true colors will get you killed. Ivy sat down and forced herself to eat. The eggs tasted like cardboard now, but she cleaned her plate. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her weak. After breakfast, Axel led her outside. The compound looked different in daylight. Bigger, more dangerous. Men worked on motorcycles in the garage, others cleaned weapons on picnic tables. You want to know what I'm capable of? Axel stopped beside a shed at the edge of the property. Look inside. He opened the door. The smell hit her first. Metallic. Wrong. A man hung from chains attached to the ceiling. His face was a mess of blood and bruises. One eye was swollen shut. Ivy stumbled backward. Oh, God! He tried to steal from us, Axel said calmly. This is what happens to thieves. The man's good eye focused on Ivy. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. Please, let him go. Why should I? Because you're better than this. Axel laughed, cold and bitter. Better? You don't know me at all. He closed the shed door. The man's muffled cries were cut off. Your stepfather thought he was better too, right up until he pulled the trigger. They walked back toward the main building. Ivy's legs felt like jelly. That man in there, what did he really steal? Does it matter? It does to me. Axel stopped walking. A picture of his dead wife. Ivy stared at him. A picture? From my brother's wallet, the night he was murdered. That's what this is about? A picture? That picture was the only thing I had left of Jake, the only proof he ever existed. Axel's voice cracked slightly. Your stepfather took everything from me. My brother, my family, my reason for living. So you torture random thieves? I torture anyone who takes what's mine. They had reached the building. Axel opened the door for her, playing the gentleman. The gesture felt wrong after what she'd just seen. Inside, Snake was waiting. The biker from last night looked nervous. Prez, we got a problem. What kind of problem? The kind with guns and money. Snake glanced at Ivy. Maybe we should talk private? She stays. Axel crossed his arms. Talk. Got word from our contact downtown. Someone put a bounty on the girl. Ivy's blood went cold. What? 50 grand, dead or alive. Snake shifted his weight. Posted this morning. Who? Axel's voice was deadly quiet. Don't know yet, but word's spreading fast. Every lowlife in the city is gonna come looking for her. Axel grabbed Ivy's arm. Come on. Wait, she pulled back. What bounty? Who wants me dead? Good question. But first we need to keep you alive long enough to find out. As they climbed the stairs to her room, Ivy's mind raced. Someone wanted her dead. Not just dead, willing to pay for it. But who? And why? She had a terrible feeling the answer was connected to whatever her stepfather had done to Axel's brother. And if that was true, then Axel might be the only thing standing between her and a bullet.
Chapter 4. Secrets in the Fire. The screaming woke her. Ivy sat up in bed, heart pounding. The sound came from down the hall, raw, desperate, like an animal caught in a trap. She pressed her ear to the door. The screaming had stopped, but she could hear movement, heavy footsteps, a door slamming. Then silence. She waited 20 minutes before trying the door handle. Locked, as always. But the screaming bothered her. It had sounded almost broken. The next morning, Axel looked like death. Dark circles under his eyes, hands shaking slightly as he drank his coffee. Rough night? She asked. He glared at her over his mug. Shut up. just making conversation. Don't. Rose brought Ivy breakfast without being asked, scrambled eggs and toast. The older woman's eyes kept drifting to Axel with concern. Is he always like this? Ivy whispered. Some days are worse than others. Rose refilled Axel's coffee. Anniversary's coming up. Anniversary of what? Rose walked away without answering. After breakfast, Axel disappeared. Snake said he'd gone into town on business. That left Ivy locked in her room with nothing to do but stare at the walls. Around noon, she heard footsteps in the hallway. Not heavy enough to be Axel. Someone else was up there. The footsteps stopped at her door. A key turned in the lock. Candy stepped inside, carrying a laundry basket. Don't get excited. I'm just bringing you clothes that actually fit. She dumped the basket on the bed. Jeans, t-shirts, underwear, all in Ivy's size. How did you? I'm good at guessing. Candy lit a cigarette, ignoring the no smoking sign on the wall. You're causing quite a stir around here. I didn't ask to be here. None of us asked for a lot of things. Candy blew smoke toward the window. But here we are. How long have you known Axel? 5 years, since right after his brother died. Candy studied Ivy with calculating eyes. You really don't know what your stepfather did, do you? Tell me. Not my story to tell. But I'll give you some advice. Don't push him on this. The anniversary makes him crazy. What anniversary? Candy was already walking toward the door. Ask him yourself, if you've got the guts. She left, locking the door behind her. Ivy spent the afternoon trying on clothes and thinking. The jeans fit perfectly. So did everything else. Either Candy was very good at guessing, or someone had been watching Ivy closely. That evening, Axel came back looking even worse. His knuckles were bloody. His shirt was torn. He'd been fighting. You look like hell, Ivy said when he brought her dinner. Feel worse. He set the tray down and turned to leave. Wait. He stopped but didn't turn around. The screaming last night. That was you, wasn't it? His shoulders tensed. Mind your own business. You were having nightmares? I said mind your own business. About your brother? He spun around, eyes blazing. Stop talking. What really happened to him? I'm warning you. You keep saying my stepfather killed him, but there's more to it, isn't there? Axel crossed the room in 3 steps. He grabbed her shoulders, fingers digging into her skin. You want to know what happened? Your stepfather shot Jake 6 times in the chest while I watched. I held my little brother while he bled out in my arms. He was 19 years old. Ivy's breath caught. Axel. I couldn't save him. I couldn't do anything but watch him die. His grip tightened. So don't talk to me about nightmares. I live in one every day. He let go and walked away. The door slammed so hard that it shook the walls. Ivy sat on the bed, shaken. 19. His brother had been 19. She waited until the compound was quiet before trying something she'd been planning all day. The dresser was heavy, but she managed to push it a few inches away from the wall. Behind it was a vent, big enough to crawl through if she could get the cover off. She worked at the screws with a fork from her dinner tray. It took an hour, but finally the cover came loose. The vent led to the room next door. Axel's room. She squeezed through the narrow space, emerging in his bedroom. It was spartanly furnished. A bed, a desk, a dresser covered with motorcycle magazines. And photos. Dozens of them scattered across the desk, like memories he couldn't put away. All of the same young man. Dark hair like Axel's, but longer. Smiling eyes. Baby face that made him look even longer than 19. Jake. In one photo, he had his arm around Axel. Both were grinning at the camera. Axel looked different. Younger. Happy. In another, Jake was working on a motorcycle, grease smudged on his cheek. The last photo made her stomach clench. Jake in a hospital bed, hooked up to machines. His chest was wrapped in bandages. His face was pale, but he was trying to smile. A note was attached. 2 weeks before he died, he kept asking about you, Axel. Said to tell you it wasn't your fault. Ivy picked up the photo with shaking hands. This wasn't the face of someone shot down in cold blood. This was someone who'd been in the hospital, someone who'd been fighting for his life, someone who had time to send messages to his brother. Footsteps in the hallway made her freeze. Heavy boots, getting closer. She shoved the photo back and scrambled toward the vent, but she was too slow. The door opened just as she reached the vent opening. "What the hell are you doing in here?" Axel's voice was deadly quiet, more dangerous than when he'd been shouting. Ivy turned around slowly. "I was breaking into my room, going through my things. I saw the photos. And? Your brother wasn't gunned down in cold blood. He was in the hospital for weeks." Something flickered across Axel's face. Pain, then anger. "Get out." "What really happened? What aren't you telling me?" "I said get out." "I didn't kill your brother." "No, but you've got his blood on your hands anyway." The words hit like a slap, but this time they felt different, like he was trying to convince himself as much as her. "How? How do I have his blood on my hands?" For a moment she thought he might answer. His face was torn between rage and something else, something that looked almost like doubt. Then the mask slammed back down. "Because you're here and he's not. That's enough." But as he grabbed her arm and pulled her toward the door, Ivy caught something in his eyes. He was lying. And maybe, just maybe, he was starting to realize it.
Chapter 5. The Price of Blood. Rain hammered against the window at 3 in the morning. Ivy had been planning this for hours. The guard rotation changed at 3 a.m. She'd watched them for 3 nights through her barred window. There was always a 15-minute gap when the east fence was unwatched. She'd already loosened the vent cover again. This time, instead of going to Axel's room, she planned to follow the ventilation system all the way to the roof. The compound was quiet, except for the storm. Perfect cover. She squeezed through the vent, crawling through darkness guided only by memory and desperation. The metal was cold against her hands and knees. 20 minutes later, she emerged on the roof, soaked within seconds. The rain felt like freedom. The east fence was 50 yards away. Guard tower stood empty in the storm. She could make it. She dropped down from the roof onto a storage shed, then to the ground. Her ankle twisted when she landed, sending pain shooting up her leg. Keep moving. She limped toward the fence, staying in the shadows. The razor wire at the top looked impossible to cross, but there was a section where a tree had fallen against it during an earlier storm. Someone had cut away some of the wire, but never fixed it properly. Her way out. She was halfway across the compound when lights blazed to life. "Runner!" The shout came from the guard tower she'd thought was empty. Damn, they'd changed the rotation. More lights, sirens. The compound came alive like a kicked anthill. Ivy ran despite her injured ankle. The fence was 20 yards away. 15. 10. She grabbed the chain link and started climbing. The metal was slippery with rain, cutting into her hands. There, by the east fence. Boots splashed through puddles behind them, getting closer. She reached the gap in the razor wire and squeezed through, feeling the metal tear her shirt and slice her back. Pain flared, but she kept moving.
On the other side, she dropped to the ground and ran into the darkness beyond the compound. Woods stretched ahead, black and endless. Behind her, motorcycles roared to life. They were coming. She crashed through trees and underbrush, branches whipping her face. The rain made everything slippery. She fell twice, getting back up each time with her ankles screaming in protest. A motorcycle engine grew louder. They'd found her trail. She stumbled into a clearing just as a headlight cut through the trees behind her. Nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. The bike burst into the clearing. Axel. He'd taken off his helmet. Rain plastered his dark hair to his skull. His eyes found hers across the clearing. End of the line. She backed away, limping. "Stay away from me. You're bleeding." His voice was different, not angry, almost concerned. She looked down. Blood ran down her arms from the razor wire cuts. Her shirt was more red than white now. "I'm fine." "You're half dead." He killed the engine and got off the bike. "Come here." "No." "Ivy." "I said no." She kept backing away. "I won't be your prisoner anymore." "You think running into the woods in a thunderstorm is freedom? You'll be dead before morning. Better than whatever you have planned for me." Something crossed his face. Hurt? What I have planned? Torture, revenge, breaking me piece by piece. She threw his own words back at him. "Remember?" He stepped closer. She stepped back. "The bounty's still active. Every criminal in the state is looking for you." "I'll take my chances." $50,000, Ivy, dead or alive. You think the woods are safer than my compound? She backed up to the edge of the clearing. More trees stretched behind her, disappearing into darkness. "Why do you care? If someone kills me, your revenge is complete." He stopped walking. That's not what I want." "Then what do you want?" "I don't know anymore." The admission hung between them in the rain. Axel took another step forward. "Come back with me. We'll figure this out." "Figure what out?" "Who wants you dead? Why?" He held out his hand. "I won't let anyone hurt you." "You're the one hurting me." "I know." The words came out quiet, broken. "I know." She stared at his outstretched hand. Part of her wanted to take it, to trust him. The other part remembered the man hanging in the shed. She turned and ran into the trees. "Ivy, don't!" His shout was lost in the storm. She crashed through branches, her ankle giving out completely. She fell hard, rolling down a steep slope. When she stopped, she was at the bottom of a ravine. Rain ran down the sides like waterfalls. Her back was on fire from the razor wire cuts. Above her, Axel appeared at the edge of the slope. "Are you hurt?" She tried to stand. Her ankle collapsed under her weight. "I'm coming down." "Don't." The gunshot cracked through the storm like thunder. Bark exploded from the tree next to Ivy's head. Someone was shooting at them. "Sniper!" Axel dived for cover behind a boulder. "Ivy, stay down." Another shot. This one closer. Whoever was up there had them pinned. Axel pulled out a gun and fired back into the darkness. Muzzle flashes lit up the trees above them. "How many?" "I can't tell. At least 2. "Why are they shooting at you?" They're not shooting at me. His eyes met hers across the ravine. They're shooting at you. The realization hit like ice water. The bounty. Someone had tracked her to the compound, followed them into the woods. $50,000, dead or alive. Another shot rang out. The bullet hit the ground inches from where she lay. "We need to move," Axel said. "Can you walk?" "I don't think so." He looked at her ankle, then at the gunman above, making a calculation. "This is going to hurt." Before she could ask what he meant, he broke cover and ran toward her in a zigzag pattern. Gunfire erupted from above. He dove and rolled, coming up beside her. "Hold on." He scooped her up in his arms just as another bullet sparked off the rocks where she had been laying. "You're not safe anymore, and now that you're mine, that means I'm not either." As they disappeared into the darkness, Ivy realized something had changed between them. She was no longer his prisoner. She was something much more dangerous. She was someone he was willing to die to protect.
Chapter 6. Ride or Die. The motel was the kind of place where people paid cash and asked no questions. Axel carried Ivy through the rain to room 12, her ankle too swollen to walk. She'd stopped arguing about being carried after the third sniper shot had nearly taken her head off. "Stay here," he said, setting her on the bed. "I'll get medical supplies." The room smelled like cigarettes and bleach. Water stains marked the ceiling. 2 beds with threadbare covers. A TV from the 1990s. "Paradise," Ivy muttered. Axel came back with a first aid kit and a bag from the vending machine. He knelt beside the bed, examining her ankle. "It's not broken, just sprained." His hands were surprisingly gentle as he wrapped it. "This'll hurt for a few days." "How do you know so much about injuries?" "Army medic, before the MC." That explained a lot. The way he'd moved during the gunfight, how he'd known exactly what to do. "Why did you leave the army?" He finished wrapping her ankle and moved to examine the cuts on her back. "Turn around." She pulled off her torn shirt, keeping her bra on. His breath caught when he saw the razor wire damage. "Jesus, these are deep. They'll heal." He cleaned each cut carefully, his fingers tracing patterns across her skin. The antiseptic burned, but she didn't make a sound. "You didn't answer my question about the army." "Jake got sick. Needed someone to take care of him." "Sick how?" His hands stilled. "Leukemia, diagnosed when he was 17. The photo from his room made sense now. Jake in the hospital bed, fighting for his life. "That's why you left the army? To take care of him?" "He was all I had left. Our parents died when he was 15. I was going to re-enlist after he got better." "But he didn't get better." "No, he didn't." Silence stretched between them. Outside, rain hammered the motel windows. "The entreatments were expensive," Ivy said quietly. "Insurance covered most of it, but not all." He applied bandages to the worst cuts. "I did what I had to do." "Illegal things?" "Yeah." She turned to face him. "Is that how you met my stepfather?" Axel's jaw tightened. "We did business together. Small stuff at first. Moving packages. No questions asked. Then it got bigger. Jake needed an experimental treatment. Not covered by insurance. $200,000. He sat back on his heels. Your stepfather said he had a job. One big score. Enough to pay for everything. What kind of job? Bank robbery. The words hit like a punch. You robbed a bank? We were supposed to rob a bank. Your stepfather had inside information. Security codes, guard schedules. It was supposed to be easy. But something went wrong. Everything went wrong. He turned back to her. It was a setup. The cops were waiting. Your stepfather sold us out.
Ivy felt sick. Jake was with you? He insisted on coming, said he could help. Axel's voice was barely a whisper. I should have said no. What happened? Gunfight. Jake got hit in the crossfire. His hands clenched into fists. I carried him 6 blocks to the hospital. He made it through surgery, but the damage was too much. Combined with the cancer, he died in the hospital. 3 weeks later, your stepfather never came to see him, never even called. Found out later he'd been paid by the bank to set us up. $25,000. $25,000. Jake's life was worth $25,000 to her stepfather. I'm sorry, she whispered. You didn't know. That doesn't make it better. A car pulled into the parking lot. Axel tensed, hand moving toward his gun. But it was just a family with kids. He relaxed slightly. We need to keep moving. They'll be looking for us. Who? The bounty hunters? And the cops. I shot one of them back there. Ivy pulled on a clean shirt from the bag he bought. Where will we go? North. I've got a friend in Canada who can help. How do you know you can trust him? I don't know, but right now he's all we've got. They left the motel at dawn, Axel helping her onto his bike. Her ankle throbbed, but she managed to hold on. They rode for hours, staying off major highways, small towns and back roads, gas stations and diners where no one looked twice at a biker and his girl. At a truck stop in Pennsylvania, they bought clothes and hair dye. In the bathroom, Ivy cut her long brown hair short and dyed it black. When she came out, Axel barely recognized her. Good disguise, he said. Your turn. I handed her the hair dye. Blonde. I'm not dyeing my hair blonde. Then we're setting docks. 20 minutes later, Axel emerged from the bathroom looking like a different person. The dark hair had made him look dangerous. The blonde made him look like a surfer who happened to ride motorcycles. Don't say a word, he warned. Ivy bit back a smile. I wasn't going to say anything. You were thinking it. They got back on the road. Somewhere in New York, they stopped at another motel. Only one room available, the clerk said. One bed. We'll take it, Axel said. In the room, they maintained careful distance. Axel took the chair by the window. Ivy sat on the bed. You can have the bed. I'll take the floor. Like hell you will. Not with that ankle. Then we'll share. The words hung in the air between them. Bad idea, Axel said. Why? He looked at her for a long moment. Because I'm not the man you think I am. What man do I think you are? Someone who can protect you without wanting something in return. Heat flared in her stomach. What do you want in return? He didn't answer, just turned back to the window. That night they lay on opposite sides of the bed, fully clothed, a wall of pillows between them like a fortress. But sometime during the night, Ivy woke to find his arm around her waist, her back pressed against his chest, his breath warm on her neck. She should have moved away. Instead, she closed her eyes and let herself pretend, just for a moment, that this was real, that they were really just a couple on the run, that he wasn't the man who'd bought her at an auction, and that she wasn't falling for the enemy who'd sworn to destroy her.
Chapter 7. Kisses and Knives. They'd been on the road for 3 days when the bike broke down. Steam poured from the engine as Axel pulled over on a deserted stretch of highway. Mountains surrounded them on both sides, forests stretching for miles. What's wrong with it? Ivy asked, climbing off. Axel lifted the hood and cursed. Radiator's cracked. We're not going anywhere. The nearest town was 20 miles back. No cell service. The sun was setting behind the mountains. There's a cabin up there, Ivy pointed, to a dirt road leading into the trees. I saw smoke from the chimney. They pushed the bite off the main road and followed the dirt path. The cabin was small and old, but someone was home. Light flickered in the windows. An elderly man answered Axel's knock. Graying beard, flannel shirt, suspicious eyes. Help you? Our bike broke down. Wondering if we could use your phone. The man looked them over. You two running from something?" "Why would you think that?" Ivy asked. "Young couple, beat-up motorcycle, looking over their shoulders every 5 seconds." He stepped aside. "Come in. Name's Frank." The cabin was warm and clared. Books everywhere. A fire crackled in the fireplace. "Phone's over there," Frank pointed to an ancient rotary phone. "But you won't get a mechanic out here tonight. Storm's coming." As if summoned by his words, thunder rumbled overhead. Axel tried calling Snake, but the connection was terrible, static, and dropped calls. "Looks like we're stuck," he told Ivy. Frank offered them the couch for the night. "Don't have much, but you're welcome to stay." During dinner, the old man told stories about his years as a forest ranger. He'd seen everything: poachers, fugitives, lost hikers. "I remind me of a couple I helped about 15 years ago," he said, ladling stew into their bowls. "Running from the law. Bank robbery gone wrong." Ivy's spoon froze halfway to her mouth. "Bank robbery?" "Oh yes. Big mess. Young man got shot. Nearly died. His older brother carried him for miles looking for help." Axel had gone very still. "What happened to them?" Ivy asked. "Older brother brought the wounded one here, begged me to help him. Kid was bleeding bad, delirious with fever." Frank sat down across from them. "I patched him up best I could, but he needed real medical attention." "Did you turn them in?" "Nope. Something about that older brother. Desperate, but not dangerous. Just a kid trying to save his family." He studied Axel's face. "Funny thing is, you look just like him." The silence stretched uncomfortably. "Common face, I guess," Axel said finally. After dinner, Frank went to bed. Axel and Ivy sat by the fire, the couch barely big enough for them both. "That was you. And Jake," she said quietly. "Yeah." "You carried him here after the robbery." "He was dying. I was out of options." "Frank saved his life that night, gave us 3 extra weeks together." "Why didn't you tell me?" "What difference does it make?" "It makes all the difference." She turned to face him. "You've been blaming yourself for Jake's death, but you did everything you could to save him." "I got him shot in the first place." "My stepfather got him shot by setting you up." Thunder crashed outside. Rain began hitting the windows. "Jake wanted to come on that job," Axel said. "I tried to talk him out of it. But he insisted. He said if I was risking my life for his medical bills, he should be there too. He was so sick, but he wanted to help. Said we were a team." "You were." "Some team. I got my little brother killed." "No." She reached for his hand. "You loved him. That's all you did wrong. You loved him too much to let him face it alone." Axel looked down at their hands, joined. "You don't understand. I've done terrible things since he died. To people who didn't deserve it." "I know." "I was going to do terrible things to you." "I know that too." He lifted his eyes to hers. "Why don't you hate me?" "Because I've seen who you really are. Under all the anger and revenge, you're the man who carried Jake through the woods. The man who won't let anyone hurt me, even though you bought me to hurt me yourself." "Ivy." She raised her hand and touched his face. "You're the man who dyed his hair blonde so we could escape together." Despite everything, he smiled at that. "Don't remind me." She reached up and touched his face. "You're the man who's been sleeping with his arm around me every night, even though you're trying to push me away." "You notice that?" "Kind of hard to miss." He caught her hand against his cheek. "I'm not good for you." "I'm not asking you to be good for me." "What are you asking?" Instead of answering, she leaned forward and kissed him. He went rigid for a moment, like he might pull away. Then his free hand tangled in her short dark hair and he kissed her back. It wasn't gentle, it was desperate, hungry, like a man who'd been starving.
She tasted rain, coffee, and something darker, something that made her stomach flutter. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. "This isn't a mistake," he whispered against her lips. "Probably. I'm using you to get back at your stepfather." "Are you?" "I don't know anymore." She kissed him again, softer this time. He melted into it, his walls crumbling. Then he jerked back like she'd burned him. "No!" He stood up, running his hands through his blonde hair. "This is wrong. Ivy, I bought you at an auction, like property. I locked you in a room, threatened to break you. That was before." "Before what?" "Before you carried me out of those woods. Before you risked your life to protect me. I'm still the same man." "No, you're not. The man who bought me wouldn't have saved me from those snipers." "I saved you because—" He stopped. "Because what?" He couldn't finish the sentence. They both knew why. Rain pelted the windows harder. In the distance, lightning illuminated the mountains. "We should get some sleep," Axel said finally. "Axel? Please, just let me think." She watched him settle onto the opposite end of the couch, as far from her as possible. But later, when she woke in the middle of the night, his arm was around her again. And this time, she was pretty sure he wasn't asleep. The next morning, Frank drove them to town to get parts for the bike. While Axel worked on repairs, Ivy used the library computer to research her stepfather. What she found made her blood run cold. News articles about the bank robbery, police reports, and a name that kept appearing in connection with Thomas Reed. Vincent "Snake" Morrison. The same Snake who was Axel's second in command. The same Snake who had told them about the bounty on her head. Her stepfather hadn't just worked with someone inside the MC. He was still working with them. And that someone was close enough to Axel to know exactly where they were going.
Chapter 8. The Devil You Know. Ivy waited until they were an hour from the compound before telling Axel what she'd found. "Pull over," she said, tapping his shoulder. He guided the bike to the side of the highway. "What's wrong?" "Snake." She climbed off and faced him. "He worked with my stepfather." Axel's face went blank. "What are you talking about?" "I found police reports from the bank robbery. Vincent Morrison was listed as a person of interest. They never caught him, but they knew he was involved." "That's impossible." "Is it? Think about it. How did my stepfather know about the security codes, the guard schedules?" Axel shook his head. "Snake's been with me for 5 years, since right after Jake died." "When did he join the MC?" "I don't—" "Right after—" Axel's voice trailed off. "Right after the robbery. Right after Jake died." Ivy grabbed his arm. "Don't you see? He's been watching you this whole time." "No," but uncertainty flickered in his eyes. "Who told you about the bounty on my head?" "Snake." "Who suggested we head north to Canada?" "Snake mentioned it, but—" "Who knew exactly which route we'd take?" Axel went very still. "He asked me to call when we reached the safe house." "The safe house that was never safe, because he told them where we'd be." "You're wrong," but his voice lacked conviction. "Am I? Those snipers in the woods found us pretty fast, almost like they knew exactly where to look." Axel stared at the horizon, pieces clicking together in his mind. If Snake was working with your stepfather, then Jake's death wasn't just about a robbery gone wrong. It was personal. But why? What did Jake ever do to anyone? Maybe it wasn't about Jake. Maybe it was about you.
The ride back to the compound was silent. Axel's body was rigid with barely controlled rage. Ivy held on tight, feeling the storm building inside him. They arrived at sunset. The compound looked the same, but everything felt different now. Dangerous. Snake was waiting in the main building, drinking beer with Razor and Bulldog. "Boss," he grinned when they walked in. "Good to see you made it back safe." "Snake," Axel's voice was carefully neutral. "Need to talk to you, private." "Sure thing." Snake followed him toward the back room. "Ivy." Axel caught her eye. He gave her an almost imperceptible nod. She waited 5 minutes, then crept toward the back room. The door was slightly open. "I told you to stay north," Snake was saying. "Why'd you come back?" "Change of plans." Axel's voice was steady. "Had to pick up some things." "What things?" "Information." Through the crack in the door, Ivy could see them facing each other. Snake relaxed against the desk. Axel stood with his arms crossed. "Information about what?" "Bank robbery. 15 years ago. You remember that?" Snake's easy smile faltered. "What about it?" "Funny thing, Ivy found some police reports. Your name was on them." "My name's on a lot of things. As a person of interest in the robbery that killed my brother." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Snake straightened slowly. "Now hold on, Axel. How long have you been working with Thomas Reed?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "The security codes came from you. You fed them to Reed, set up the whole job." "That's crazy." "Is it? You joined the MC right after Jake died. Been my right hand since then, keeping an eye on me." Snake's hand moved toward his gun. "You're paranoid, boss." "Am I?" "Then explain how those snipers found us in the woods." "Lucky guess?" "Try again." "Axel, you're making a mistake." "The only mistake I made was trusting you." Snake drew his gun, but Axel was faster. The gunshot echoed through the building. Snake hit the floor, clutching his shoulder. Blood seeped between his fingers. "Jesus, Axel! That was a warning shot. Next one goes in your head." Voices and footsteps approached from the main room. The other bikers had heard the shot. "Prez, everything okay back there?" Razor called out. "Fine," Axel shouted back. "Just cleaning up some trash." He knelt beside Snake, pressing the gun to his forehead. "Start talking. Why did you set up that robbery?" "Go to hell." Axel cocked the hammer. "Wrong answer." Okay. Snake's face was pale with pain and fear. "Reed approached me, said he needed a crew for a job." "Why Jake? Why my brother?" "It wasn't supposed to be Jake. You were the target." The words hit like a physical blow. "What?" "Reed wanted you dead, but Jake insisted on coming. Messed up the whole plan." "Why did Reed want me dead?" "Because you were getting close to the truth." "What truth?" "You really don't know, do you?" "Know what?" "Reed didn't kill Jake's mother in that car accident. He murdered her." The gun wavered in Axel's hand. "What?" "Jake found out. Was asking questions, getting suspicious. Reed couldn't let it come out, so he hired me to eliminate the threat. Jake's mother died when he was 15, before I even met Reed." "And who do you think referred you to Reed for that first job?" "Me. I'd been watching your family for months, waiting for the right opportunity." Ivy felt sick. Jake's mother, the car accident that started everything. that led to Jake needing a guardian, that put Axel in Reed's path. It had all been planned. Reed's been pulling your strings for years. Every job, every decision. He needed you close so he could watch you. Make sure you never found out what really happened to your parents. My parents died in a house fire. Did they? Or did Reed need to tie up loose ends? Axel's face went white. You're lying. Am I? Think about it. Your parents died right after Jake started asking questions about his mother's accident. Convenient timing. The door burst open. Razor and Bulldog rushed in, guns drawn. Drop it, Prez, Razor shouted. What? Snake radioed us before you got back. Told us you'd gone crazy, that the girl had turned you against your own brothers. More bikers poured into the room, all armed, all pointing guns at Axel. This is a setup. Is it? Snake struggled to his feet, still clutching his bleeding shoulder. I've been running this MC longer than you have. These men answered to me. The bikers shifted uncomfortably, but kept their weapons trained on Axel. You're wrong, Axel said. These are my brothers. Your brothers? Snake laughed. Look around, Axel. Count the guns pointed at you. One by one, Ivy watched Axel's faith crumble as he realized how deep the betrayal ran. Snake pulled out a backup gun. Reed wants the girl alive, but he didn't say anything about you. Wait. Candy appeared in the doorway. What's going on? Snake's been working with Reed. He set up the robbery that killed Jake. Is that true? Shut up, Snake snarled, then addressed the room. Axel's lost his mind. The girls poisoned him against his own family. Have I? Axel stood slowly, hands raised. Or have you all forgotten what family really means? He looked each man in the eye. Jake was your brother too. He bled with us, rode with us, and Snake handed him over to die. Doubt flickered across some faces. He's lying, Snake insisted. Am I? Then explain how those snipers found us in the woods. More doubt. Some of the guns wavered. Razor, Axel said quietly. Who recruited you into this MC? You did, Press. And you, Bulldog. You, boss. One by one, Axel reminded them of their history, their loyalty, their bonds forged in blood and brotherhood. Snake watched his support crumble.
You fools. Reed pays better than... Razor's gun swung toward Snake. You sold out Jake? And our Prez? Bulldog's weapon followed. Within seconds, every gun in the room was pointed at Snake instead of Axel. This isn't over, Snake gasped. Reed has armies, resources. He'll burn this place to the ground. Let him try, Axel said. But as Ivy watched Snake's defiant smile, she knew this was just the beginning. Reed had been planning this for decades, and they'd just declared war on a man who'd already destroyed 2 families. Now he was coming for the rest of them.
Chapter 9. Burn It All Down. They came at dawn. Ivy woke to the sound of motorcycles roaring toward the compound. Dozens of them. Too many to be friendly. Axel! She shook him awake. He was on his feet instantly, grabbing his gun from the nightstand. How many? I can't tell. A lot. The compound's alarm began wailing. Gunfire erupted outside. Axel pulled her away from the window. Stay low. They'd moved into his room after Snake's confession, partly for safety, partly because neither wanted to be alone anymore. "Boss!" Razor's voice echoed through the building. "We got company, Blood Serpents MC." Axel cursed. Reed hired mercenaries. More gunfire, shouting, the sound of breaking glass. "What do we do?" Ivy asked. "We fight." He handed her a pistol. "You know how to use this?" "Point and shoot?" "Close enough." They crept downstairs. The main room was chaos. Bikers crouched behind overturned tables, returning fire through shattered windows. Bullet holes dotted the walls. Bulldog was bleeding from his arm. Candy wrapped a makeshift bandage around the wound. "How bad?" "Bad," Rose answered from behind the bar. "They've got us surrounded, at least 40 bikes." "What do they want?" "You and the girl," Razor called out, firing through a broken window. They made that real clear. A Molotov cocktail crashed through another window, spreading fire across the floor. Rose scrambled to put it out with a fire extinguisher. "We can't hold them off much longer," Bulldog said. Axel looked around the room. 20 bikers against 40, low on ammunition. The building was already burning in 2 places. "There's a way out," he said finally. "What way?" "The tunnels." Ivy had heard rumors about underground passages beneath the compound, escape routes dating back to the original builders. "Those tunnels haven't been used in years," Rose protested. "They still work." Axel grabbed ammunition from behind the bar. "I checked them last month." Another explosion rocked the building. Part of the ceiling collapsed, crushing 2 motorcycles. "Move!" Axel shouted. "Everyone to the basement." They fought their way through smoke and debris. The basement was accessed through a hidden door behind the furnace. One by one, the bikers disappeared into the darkness below. Ivy was near the back of the group when she heard footsteps on the stairs above her. "Someone's coming," she whispered. Axel spun around, gun raised. 3 men in Blood Serpent's colors descended the stairs, weapons drawn. "There, by the furnace!" Gunfire erupted in the confined space. Concrete exploded where bullets hit the walls. Axel shoved Ivy toward the tunnel entrance. "Go!" "Not without you." One of the serpents flanked around the furnace, trying to cut off their escape. Axel fired twice, dropping him. But the gunshot revealed their position to the other 2. "Behind the water heater!" one shouted. A hail of bullets shredded the metal tank. Water sprayed everywhere, mixing with blood from Axel's torn shoulder. He was hit. Ivy saw him stumble, gun falling from suddenly nerveless fingers. The serpents emerged from cover, weapons trained on them. "Thomas Reed sends his regards," the taller one said. Without thinking, Ivy raised her pistol and fired. The shot took him in the chest. He went down hard. His partner spun toward her, but Axel had recovered his gun. They fired simultaneously. The serpent's shot went wide. Axel's did not. "Can you move?" Ivy asked, helping him to his feet. "Yeah." Blood soaked his shirt, but he was upright. "Nice shooting." "You too." They stumbled into the tunnel just as more footsteps echoed down the stairs. The passage was narrow and damp, barely wide enough for one person. They crawled through darkness for what felt like hours. Finally,
They emerged in the woods half a mile from the compound. Behind them, orange flames lit up the night sky. The compound was burning. 30 years, Rose said quietly. 30 years we called that place home. The surviving bikers gathered around Axel. 15 left out of 20, 3 wounded. What now, boss? Razor asked. Axel looked back at the flames consuming everything they'd built. Now we disappear, scatter, lay low. And then? Then we make Reed pay for this. But Ivy knew it wasn't that simple. Reed had resources they couldn't match. Money, connections, private armies. We need to split up, she said. He's tracking us somehow. That's right, Candy agreed. He found us at the compound. He'll find us again. So what are you suggesting? Bulldog asked. I'm suggesting I turn myself in. Like hell, Axel said immediately. It's the only way. He wants me alive. If I surrender, maybe he'll leave the rest of you alone. You think Reed honors deals? Axel grabbed her arm. He's been planning this for decades. You think he'll stop now? Then what's your plan? I don't have one yet. Great, so we just keep running until he picks us off one by one. If that's what it takes. That's not a plan, that's suicide. They stared at each other across the clearing. The flames behind them cast dancing shadows on their faces. I won't lose you, Axel said quietly. Not like I lost Jake. This isn't about Jake anymore. Isn't it? No. She stepped closer. This is about us, about choosing to fight instead of running. I can't protect you if we're fighting. You can't protect me by running either. She touched his wounded shoulder. You're bleeding because you tried to save me, again. So maybe it's time I saved you for a change. He caught her hand against his shoulder. Ivy, you were supposed to be a means to an end. She echoed his own words. But now you're the only thing that feels real. The confession hung between them like a bridge. Neither wanted to cross. You don't understand, he said. I bought you, used you, planned to destroy you. And I shot 3 men tonight to save your life. She lifted their joined hands to his cheek. Which one of us matters more? What we were or what we are now? He leaned into her touch. What we are now is dangerous. Good. Dangerous is what we need. Around them, the other bikers pretended not to watch this private moment between their president and the woman who'd saved his life. But Ivy didn't care who was watching. I love you, she said simply. The words hit him like a physical blow. He tried to pull away, but she held on. You don't have to say it back. You don't have to feel the same way. She looked into his eyes. But I needed you to know, before whatever comes next. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then he kissed her. Not gentle this time, not hesitant, hard and desperate and full of everything he couldn't say. When they broke apart, his forehead pressed against hers. I love you too, he whispered. That's why this is so dangerous. Why? Because now I've got something to lose again. Behind them, the compound collapsed in a shower of sparks and flame. Their old life was over. Whatever came next would test everything they'd found in each other. But for this moment, in the darkness between...
Chapter 10. Blood for Blood. The abandoned warehouse smelled like rust and broken dreams. They'd been hiding there for 3 days, tending wounds and planning their next move. The surviving bikers had split into smaller groups, scattered across the state. Ivy sat in front of a laptop Candy had stolen from a Best Buy, hunting through police databases with skills she'd learned in college. Her criminology degree was finally useful for something. "Find anything?" Axel asked, settling beside her with his arm in a sling. "Maybe." She'd been digging into the car accident that killed Jake's mother. "Your brother was right to be suspicious." "About what?" "The accident report doesn't match the physical evidence." She pulled up photos from the crash scene. "Look at this." The car hit a tree head-on, but the damage pattern was wrong. The impact point is too high, and there are no skid marks, like she didn't even try to brake. Could have been drunk, fell asleep. Toxicology was clean, no alcohol, no drugs. Ivy scrolled through more files. But here's the interesting part. The investigating officer was Detective Vincent Morrison. Snake's father? Has to be. Same last name, same department. She found Morrison Sr.'s personnel file. Retired 3 months after the accident. Full pension, very comfortable retirement. He was paid off. Gets better. Guess who recommended him for early retirement? Axel leaned closer to read the screen. Chief of Police Thomas Reed. Your stepfather was a cop? 30 years, retired 5 years ago. But he kept his connections, his influence. She pulled up more files, evidence photos, witness statements. A pattern began to emerge. Reed didn't just have Jake's mother killed. He's been covering up murders for decades. Why? What's his connection to your family? I don't think there is one. I think I was just convenient, a way to control you. Control me how? By giving you someone to blame, someone to focus your rage on while he stayed in the shadows. Axel stared at the screen. He's been pulling the strings this whole time. More than that. Ivy found another file. Remember how Snake said Reed murdered your parents too? Yeah? House fire, 15 years ago. She showed him the arson investigation report. Same detective, Vincent Morrison. Jesus. Reed's been eliminating anyone who got too close to the truth about Jake's mother. Your parents started asking questions after Jake did, so Reed had them killed and made it look like an accident. Then Jake got suspicious again. So Reed set up the bank robbery, made it look like your stepfather was the bad guy, got Jake killed, and put you on a revenge quest that would keep you busy for years. While he stayed clean. Until now, Ivy saved the files to a flash drive. This is enough evidence to put him away forever. Evidence assumes we can get to a court. Axel stopped pacing. Reed owns half the police force. The other half is too scared to go against him. Then we don't go through the police. What are you suggesting? Before she could answer, Razor burst through the warehouse door. Boss, we got a problem. What kind of problem? Reed found Rose and Candy. He's got them. Ivy's blood gone cold. Are they alive? For now. He wants to make a trade. Razor handed Axel a phone. He called this number 10 minutes ago. Axel answered. Reed's voice filled the warehouse. Hello, Axel. Enjoying your accommodations? What do you want, Reed? What I've always wanted. Control. Reed's laughter was cold. I have your friends. Two very lovely ladies who mean a lot to your family. If you hurt them, I won't if you give me what I want. Which is you and the girl, tonight, Pier 47, come alone. And then you'll let Rose and Candy go? I'll let them die quickly. My generosity has limits. The line went dead. Axel threw the phone against the wall. Son of a bitch! It's a trap, Razor said unnecessarily. Of course it's a trap. Axel checked his weapons. But we're going anyway. We? Ivy stood up. I'm going with you. Like hell you are. He wants both of us. If I don't show, he'll kill Rose and Candy out of spite. He'll kill them anyway. Maybe, but at least this way we can try to save them. Bulldog appeared in the doorway. Boss, I got something you need to see. He led them to another section of the warehouse where he'd set up surveillance equipment. Been monitoring police frequencies. Reed's got more than just Rose and Candy. The monitor showed live feeds from security cameras around Pier 47. Dozens of armed men, snipers on surrounding buildings, boats in the harbor. He's got an army, Ivy breathed. At least 60 men, Bulldog confirmed. Professional mercenaries, military equipment. We can't fight that many, Razor said. We don't have to fight them, Ivy said slowly. We just have to outlast them. What do you mean? She held up the flash drive containing all the evidence. Reed's been careful for decades, but he's making mistakes now, getting sloppy. How does that help us? Because I know someone who's been waiting for a chance to bring him down. She picked up another phone and dialed a number from memory. Agent Sarah Chen, this is Ivy Summers. You don't know me, but I have information about Detective Thomas Reed. The FBI had been investigating Reed for years, Chen explained, but they'd never had enough evidence, until now. Give us 2 hours. We'll have teams in position. Reed wants us there in 1 hour. Then you'll have to stall him. After she hung up, Axel grabbed her shoulders. This is insane. You're talking about walking into a death trap and hoping the FBI shows up in time. You have a better idea? Yeah, we run, tonight, leave the country, start over somewhere Reed can't find us. What about Rose and Candy? What about them? You'd really leave them to die? Axel's face twisted in anguish. I can't lose you too. You won't. She cupped his face in her hands. But I can't live knowing we let good people die because we were afraid. I'm not afraid of dying. I'm afraid of living without you. Then don't. Live with me. Fight with me. And if we don't make it, we'll make it. But if we don't, I want you to know something. What? These past few weeks with you have been worth more than all the years before them combined. He pulled her against him, holding her tight. Don't talk like this is goodbye. It's not goodbye. It's see you later. Promise me. I promise. But as they prepared for what might be their final battle, Ivy knew some promises were easier to make than keep. Reed had spent decades planning his revenge. Now it was time to find out who wanted it more. At 11 p.m., they rode toward Pier 47, Axel on his bike, Ivy holding tight behind. In the distance, federal agents moved into position. Whatever happens, Axel called over the engine noise, I love you. I love you too. They rounded the final corner, and Pier 47 came into view. Spotlights, armed men. And in the center of it all, Thomas Reed waiting with Rose and Candy Pound beside him. Ready? Axel asked. Ready.
They rode into the light toward whatever ending waited for them. But for the first time since this all began, Ivy wasn't afraid. She was home, in Axel's arms, on the back of his bike, riding to a future they'd write together. In blood if necessary, but together. Always together.